Hi, have you wondered which inks to use and why on your card making and paper crafting projects? From scrapbooking to handmade cards to using it on your planners and just because, these are the 4 kinds of inks I most recommend and how to use them, grabbing your photopolymer and your red rubber style stamps, and I'll show you which is the best inks to use and even a hint on the best papers to use and why. This is Jamie with gettingcrafty.net. In today's Card Making Monday, we are here to bring you the basics of stamping of what not to do with your ink pads. Go ahead and create this right now. Grab your photopolymer and red rubber style stamps and a couple collections of paper. Let me show you why I use what I use when I use it. And we're gonna go ahead and show you which inks to use on all of your paper crafting projects and which inks not to use. Don't miss out. And if you haven't already, take a second to subscribe and hit that bell so that you can join us on every Card Making Monday, Wild Card Wednesday, and Stamping Stream Fridays for our YouTube lives. We'll see you there. Let's go ahead and create right now. Hi guys, it's Jamie. So let's go ahead and create. I want to show you 4 of my favorite kinds of ink pads that I use on the regular when it comes to my paper crafting and card making. So here you're going to see this stays on. It's a solvent alcohol-based black ink pad. It comes in a variety of colors. Our memento, which is a dye ink. It's water-based. It is not solvent. We have a classic ink pad, which is water-based as well. It's a dye ink, and we have Versamark, which is a watermark stamp. This actually will stamp clear. It's ideally used when you are heat embossing or wanting to leave a subtle background or watermark on your crafting projects. So I'm going to set these aside and we're going to compare the 2 that I recommend that I see used the most when it comes to black ink pads. Black ink pads are commonly used with these 2 here. This stays on solvent ink. It smells like almonds. It's one of my favorite inks to use. And the memento black ink, which is a black ink that's called tuxedo black. Both of these are stunning, sharp black inks. Now there's very important jobs that both of these do. The stays on ink is regularly used for watercoloring and stamping with red rubber ink pads. So a red rubber cling stamp pad will be like this. When you open it up, you can see the red rubber just like so. This here is the Butterfly Wishes stamp set 149346. And a photopolymer stamp is like this Butterfly Gala 148580. And you can see it is clear all the way through. These do dye, like the stamps will get colored as you use them with different colors. So just be aware of that when you're using photopolymer. They don't stay clear at all times. So I lined up the 2 stamps so that I can show you the comparison of Butterfly by Butterfly. Again, we have red rubber, and this is a cling material. It's a thicker rubbered stamp. And then we have photopolymer. It's not as thick of a project off of the block, but it does have some great imagery. So let's go ahead and put these 2 right here. And we're going to show you that I use regularly with my photopolymer memento ink pad. Do not use Stays On with it. Don't. So Stays On, being an alcohol-based ink, will actually eat away at the photopolymer stamp. And your photopolymer, with any continual use, for example, by, I don't know, even 6 to 8 stamping of it in a Stays On, your image will no longer be stamping the same because there is alcohol based in here. And alcohol is great for so many reasons. What you don't want to do is use Stays On with alcohol markers. See, we're going to go there real quick. So 3 kinds of cardstocks I regularly use is Stampin' Up's regular thick cardstock. This is Smoky Slate cardstock 131202. Whisper White cardstock, which is 100730. This is a lighter weight Whisper White cardstock. It's designed for layering. And thick Whisper White cardstock, which is item number 140272. I have to tell you, I love, love, love our Whisper White cardstocks. There's just a big difference though, besides the thickness. So I'm gonna set these 2 aside. We are going to show you why I often, especially with a thicker cardstock like this here, and then I'm going to grab the regular white cardstock. And the regular white cardstock will be on top, and the bottom one will be the thicker white cardstock. I know it's kind of hard to see. Let's see if I can throw a piece of smoky slate in between, just so you can see the difference in the 3 cardstocks as we work. That's great. Now you have a really good visual on that. At least I hope you do. So let's go ahead and line that up, and I'm going to show you what we do. So again, with photopolymer, you use Memento ink pad. With red rubber, you use our Stays On. You can also use red rubber on Memento. It's just that you don't want the Stays On and the photopolymer to come together. So here, I've often heard some demonstrators say that they get a darker image using Stays On, and I don't find that to be true at all, actually. Don't get me wrong, I love me some Stays On, especially the fact that I developed a nut allergy and this smells like almonds. Just be careful when you're stamping that you don't touch your nose, because it's an alcohol permanent-based marker. You'll have a black smudge on your nose for a while. Now, using photopolymer, I'm going to grab the Memento ink pad. When I store my ink pads, I store them upside down. It's really important. Stampin' Up! Designs their stamp pads so that the ink pad is always stored upside down. And these store just as well. All of my ink pads are stored upside down at my home studio. So using Memento ink pad, I do put the lid underneath and stick it on there because no matter what, I could lose anything on my desk in 2.2 seconds. So we're going to grab the photopolymer and we're going to stamp it 3 times. We're going to stamp it here on the regular Whisper White cardstock. Then we're going to stamp it on the basic smoky slate right here. And then we will stamp it on the thick Whisper White cardstock, which I will have a confession, I often think looks better. It's a higher grade quality with a larger, it has a thicker, larger cotton thread that's woven through it. So this is very much like fashion. It's really great like that. So that's my photopolymer stamps. Let me see if I can pull that down so you can see them just a little bit better. And then we're going to take I'm going to turn the ink pad over and I close it because the primary reason is I'm really great at sticking my hand in projects and getting ink all over myself. So this is the red rubber cling stamp, just like so. I'm going to stamp that on the regular Whisper White cardstock. Now this is a distinctive stamp, so it has built-in shading. Stampin' Up! Has the market on that, and they are so beautiful. You can't go wrong with a distinctive style stamp. And then we're stamping it on the lighter weight Whisper White cardstock here. Now, I have to say, you can't tell the difference in the 2 inks. Not really. This one seems like the Stays On has a little bit more of a blue to it, but it's black, you guys. These are great black inks. Now, I can stamp the red rubber and the Memento no problem. I just would not transfer the 2. Again, the Stays On ink pad will eat your photopolymer up if you're not careful. Now, I usually clean the stamps right in between. I'm just going to show you really quickly. Let me grab another photopolymer just so you can see it with the classic ink pad, which is another water-based ink pad from Stampin' Up! You can shop for any of these things on my blog at gettingcrafty.net. There's also a full description inside of the description here, the comment below. You can see it all. And then we're going to grab that beautiful gray. Photopolymer is wonderful for the aspect that you can see where the ink has gone. So I tap, tap, tap. Please don't dig it into your ink pads. Your ink pads, if they're juicy, will do all the work for you. Now this is basic gray. It is very dark gray, but it is not black. It's actually why I picked the smoky slate. I think basic gray and smoky slate look so good together. It's very monochromatic and appealing to the eye. So there you go. So you can see the difference. Water-based ink pads will have a tendency to blend a little bit more and be absorbed into the ink pad, whereas Stays On will sit more on top of the ink pad. You can also use Stays On to stamp on a non-porous surface. For example, a foil sheet. So let me see, I have foil sitting right here. This is our brass foil sheet. Now, if you were to stamp with either the memento or the water-based ink pad, it would not dry on top of foil ink because it will, foil paper. It will not absorb that ink. You can actually use a, an embossing, heat embossing in order to heat on top of it if you wanted to. So let's just show you what the StazOn will do here versus the memento. The memento will never dry. Just get ready for that. I mean, like, it's a big thing. But the StazOn, I'm gonna end up smearing it because I didn't get a big enough piece here, y'all. But that's okay. We're not going to use this on a project right now. You can see that it's wet. Right now, the StazOn, it is an alcohol-based ink, so much like anything, if you're cooking with alcohol or using alcohol, it will cook up, or the alcohol will evaporate. So that is one of the reasons why you wait when you stamp on a non-porous surface like foil sheets or Versamark, or vellum, or anything that's non-porous, not a cardstock specific. Now, if you were to stamp on memento, it will never dry, so you just smear it off the whole time. It's kind of crazy. So that's what not to do. These are some amazing ink pads. They will make your inking and crafting go wonderfully well with all of your card making. All you have to do is know which ink pad to use with which stamp. So I'm going to give you a quick review. Memento ink pad with photopolymer. StazOn ink pad and water-based ink pads with red rubber or photopolymer. And it's pretty easy when you do that. You will not get a better image with better colored image with the memento or StazOn. StazOn I will use when I'm watercoloring because it will dry and it will not smear. So that's really important when you're drying something and you want to watercolor. If you try to do that with the memento ink pad, it will more than likely blend in with the color that you're doing. So for example, I'm grabbing this really pretty bumblebee color right here. This is a water-based ink pad. I'm going to give it a little squeeze right there. And then I'm going to take my little aqua painters, water painters here. And I already have water inside of it. I always put the lid on the back of the image, and I'm going to pull up the ink. So I give it a little squeeze of water, give myself a well of ink to use. Now, I like to use water-based ink pads for these. Water-based paper, like our Fluid 100 paper. That is ideal. Don't always have to use white cardstock. You'll get a better image with the Fluid 100 cotton paper. It absorbs the water so much better. Now, this is the thinner Whisper White. So if you were to, So if you were to watercolor, and this is on the memento, your black will have a tendency to kind of fade and blend in, just like you're seeing here. And so it's not going to have that same solid line. It's going to blend it out and get a little muddled. Super pretty though. And then you're going to grab this and you're going to color it with the StazOn. And it's just going to not blend at all. That black will just tighten up. It glows a little bit. And that's just because it's not blending out. It's holding its color, it's absorbed into the cotton fibers, and you're all set. And the same here with this water-based ink pad with the gray. If you were to blend it out, that gray is going to muddle in with that. You might like that. It'll give it a little bit more of an aged look. But the more you color, the more it's going to muddle. Now, if we were to take, I think that's all we need to do. Same thing if you were to watercolor with Wink of Stella. Now, I'm going to remove the smoky slate here. And I'm going to show you how it will actually watercolor better on the thicker Whisper White. So using the same water painter and Bumblebee ink pad, I'm going to go on the thicker white Whisper cardstock. I use this in all of my card making. If you're making a white-based card, you need to use a thick Whisper White card. It's just like when you were sending a resume. If you were to resume out, you want to use better paper than you would just regular copy paper. But here you can see it's starting to blend the colors. And if you want a softer look, that's a great technique. But if you want your color to hold true, you're going to want to stick with StazOn. Now, does that mean you can't watercolor with photopolymer? No, it just means it's probably going to blend a little bit. Or I like to use Versamark ink pads and heat emboss it either in clear or heat emboss it in black line heat powder. And I have a whole basics of stamping coming up for you with some great tips and techniques on watercoloring and heat embossing, so keep an eye out. Every week we release a new video tutorial of what not to do with your crafting and what to do. So you're going to see here that the water absorbs a little bit better in the thick Whisper White cardstock. This is going to be more bowed. It will not hold its image as well at comparison to the thick Whisper White cardstock. Super easy. So I love, love, love the basics of stamping and showing people how to do little tricks and techniques to make their crafting better. Now I'm going to show you really quickly what Versamark looks like on the smoky slate. So I'm going to grab another butterfly. And the reason I'm grabbing another butterfly is I don't want to mix my inks, and I wasn't cleaning them right now. So I'm right here in front of you not cleaning my stamps. So I'm going to remove this one butterfly here, and I'm going to grab another photopolymer butterfly just to show you. That's part of the reason I love our stamps. When I remove my photopolymer, I peel it back. I don't just rip it off, because photopolymer is a little bit more of a delicate type of stamp. These will last for years and years if you take really good care of them. Now, using Versamark, it has no color to it. It's actually, if you touch it with your pinky, you'll find that it's sticky and gooey. Can you see the sticky on my finger? That is actually what holds your embossing powder to your image, which is really, really important. I'm gonna roll it inside here, just pat, 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 pat like you're patting a baby's bottom. And then we're gonna stamp on top of the smoky slate cardstock. All it will do is create a gorgeous background. Or now if I wanted to cover it with embossing powder, I could. But you can see it's very light. This is a great technique if you wanted to create your own custom background paper or just a subtle look behind a stamped image. So you could punch that out with a bunch of butterflies behind it, and this one would stand out from the crowd. It gives you a really fun depth of texture and layers. No effort. So we will do a whole basics of stamping probably in the next week or two on heat embossing, so don't miss out on that. There is some great tricks and tips on how to heat emboss better, and I'd love to show that to you. In the meantime, I hope you know what not to do. These are my favorite kinds of inks to use on the regular. Again, Memento black ink pad in the tuxedo black, Stays On ink pad in the jet black ink, a basic classic stamping pad from Stampin' Up. I used basic gray today. And I encourage you, if you're going to be using and you want to watercolor at all or add a second color, stamp on the thicker Whisper White cardstock more than you've been in the past. If you want a lighter card, this is great. It'll stamp just as well, but I think it just comes out better on a thick Whisper White cardstock. And again, watercoloring looks best if you use a watercolor paper like our Fluid 100. I hope that this inspires you to go ahead and create with us and take your stamping to the next level. A handmade card is a wonderful way to show people that you care. Hi guys, so easy and fun to create with a variety of cardstocks and inks. What not to do. Again, friendly reminder, don't mix your Stays On ink pad with your photopolymer stamp sets. Don't do it. Go ahead and embrace your red rubber cling with any ink pad, really. And if you're going to watercolor, make sure that you use the Stays On, or if you're using a photopolymer stamp set to watercolor, either heat emboss it or go ahead and expect it to muddle just a little bit in your watercoloring. I hope that you've enjoyed this basics of stamping tutorial. Don't do that with your ink pads. Don't use the wrong ones on your stamp sets. Go ahead, you can check out this full thing on my blog, this full tutorial on my blog at gettingcrafty.net. That's gettingcrafty.net. You can see the full shopping list as well in the description below or on my blog. And look at this next video coming your way. Basics of stamping is so much fun if you know what to do with the right products. Don't miss out. Keep in mind, this is Card Making Monday. We hope that you will subscribe to us all month long. Go ahead and join us as each week we bring you a new video on how to improve your stamping projects. Check it out. I'll talk to you soon. And if you haven't already, make sure you subscribe and hit that bell so you're notified whenever we go live or a video is posted. I look forward to seeing you there. Have a good one. Bye.